The world we perceive, from the grandest cityscapes to the most intimate thoughts, is often built upon foundations we rarely question. We move through spaces, influenced by structures, and accept realities as immutable truths. But what if much of what feels solid, what defines our boundaries, is not natural at all, but deliberately constructed? What if the very architecture of our lives, the invisible lines that hem us in, are manifestations of a deeper, more ancient design? This video dives into the heart of that unseen construction, revealing a symbol that has been anchoring limitations for millennia. We've all seen it, often without realizing its significance. The shape is so fundamental, so basic, yet its presence is woven into the fabric of our existence. It's more than just a geometric form, it's a spiritual anchor, a focal point for forces that seek to contain and define, to shape our understanding of what is possible and what is not. This symbol, this pervasive black cube, has been a silent architect of our perceived reality, silently shaping our experiences and subtly guiding our development. Understanding its presence is the first step toward recognizing the unseen architecture of limitation that surrounds us. It's like suddenly noticing the scaffolding around a building, realizing that what you thought was the final structure is actually a framework designed for a specific purpose. But knowing there is one thing, and understanding why it's there and what it truly does, is an entirely different matter. This journey will peel back layers of meaning, exposing how this shape acts as a spiritual cornerstone for forces that prefer us confined. We need to grasp its occult significance, not to become occultists ourselves, but to simply see the patterns that have been laid before us. It's about reclaiming our sight, about understanding how this symbol perpetuates a cycle of entrapment that we might be unknowingly participating in. And real quick, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos. Now let's keep going. The idea of a space that holds things in, that prevents escape or expansion, is a powerful one. We see it in physical barriers, in mental prisons, and even in the way natural phenomena can seem to confine. But what if there's a specifically designed, energetic container, a field that's not made of matter, but of something far more subtle, yet infinitely more potent? This is where the black cube truly begins to reveal its purpose as a containment field. Think of a seed. It's contained within its shell, a miniature, perfect package holding the potential for a vast tree. But that shell also limits the seed's immediate expression. The black cube operates on a similar principle, but instead of holding a seed, it aims to hold consciousness itself. It's a spiritual enclosure designed to define the boundaries of what can be perceived, what can be known, and what can be experienced. It creates a boundary, not just of space, but of thought and spirit. This containment isn't necessarily overtly violent or destructive, but it is profoundly restrictive. It's like living in a beautifully decorated room, unaware that the walls are solid and that there's a whole universe outside. The box itself becomes the reality, and anything beyond its 6 faces is dismissed as impossible or imaginary. This field works on a principle of energetic limitation, subtly siphoning off potential and redirecting it inward, reinforcing its own structure. We are talking about a spiritual technology, an ancient mechanism for control. It's not just an inert symbol, but an active principle that generates an energetic field. And this field, this containment, has profound implications for our sense of freedom and our ability to explore the true expanse of our own being. What happens when this field is the fundamental structure of our perceived reality, and how do you even begin to perceive the walls when they're made of pure limitation? The black cube is more than just a shape. It's a deliberate architecture of limitation, a containment field designed to hold us. But where did such an idea, such a powerful symbol of confinement, originate? In the next section, we'll trace this pattern back to its celestial namesake and begin to understand the primal forces behind its construction. The influence of celestial bodies on human affairs is an age-old concept, interwoven with mythology, astrology, and spiritual practices. But when we speak of Saturn, the ancient god of time and agriculture, we are not just talking about a distant planet in our solar system. In occult traditions, Saturn is often seen as a ruling force, a shadowy architect, and the origin point for many systems of limitation. Understanding Saturn is key to understanding the cube. This planet, known for its rings, has long been associated with restriction, discipline, and the grounding of reality, which can easily translate into confinement. The cube, a symbol of completion and stability, becomes Saturn's earthly manifestation, its spiritual anchor point. It's as if the planet itself projects this form, this energetic blueprint, onto our world to establish its dominion. The association is deep and ancient, predating modern astronomy. When we look at the black cube, we're not just looking at a shape created by human hands. We are looking at a geometric manifestation of Saturnian energies, a physical embodiment of cosmic principles of restriction and order. This energy, this primal force, is embedded into the very fabric of existence, shaping our perceptions and our limitations. It's the foundation upon which many other systems of control are built, intentionally or not. The shadow of Saturn is not just a metaphor for darkness, but for the tangible, measurable limitations that this planetary influence imposes. Think of the agricultural cycles Saturn was said to govern: the planting, the harvesting, the inevitable end of seasons. These are all cycles of containment and rebirth, a fundamental pattern of limitation and renewed confinement. This primordial influence, this ancient power, is intrinsically linked to the cubic form. We've begun to see how the black cube is a direct manifestation of Saturn's restrictive energies, a powerful link between the celestial and the terrestrial. But this Saturnian influence doesn't exist in a vacuum. It echoes through various spiritual and mystical systems. In the next section, we'll explore how these echoes appear in Kabbalistic traditions and the darker realms of the Qliphoth. The realms of mysticism and esoteric knowledge often speak of intricate systems of divine order, but also of fallen or shadow aspects. Within Kabbalah, the tree of life represents the manifest divine, but its inverse, often referred to as the Qliphoth or shells, signifies the forces of spiritual imbalance and separation. It's here, in these shadowed branches, that we find a profound resonance with the black cube's nature. The Qliphothic tree is a concept of reversed divine emanations, a structure of spiritual corruption and fragmentation. Each sphere on this inverted tree corresponds to a distortion of its positive counterpart, and many of these distortions represent archetypes of entrapment, deception, and severe limitation. These are not simply abstract ideas, they are energetic constructs, realms of influence that can impact our reality. When we consider the black cube within this framework, it becomes a potent symbol of Qliphothic influence. It represents a spiritual cage, a geometrically perfect prison designed to isolate consciousness and prevent its ascent. The Qliphothic forces are, in essence, the architects of this kind of spiritual decay, and the cube is their signature symbol, their signature structure. It mirrors the fragmentation and darkness found in these inverted spiritual paths. Consider the oppressive nature often associated with these Qliphothic realms. They are characterized by a lack of true divinity, a perversion of life-giving energies into something that consumes or binds. The black cube, as a symbol of containment, perfectly embodies this struggle against spiritual expansion and authentic connection. It's an echo of the fallen divine, a structure built from negation and restriction. Having explored the Kabbalistic echoes and the Qliphothic influence, the pervasive symbolism of the black cube becomes clearer as a force of spiritual constriction. But this influence is not confined to obscure texts. It manifests in the very stone and mortar of human endeavor. In the next section, we'll examine how this cube appears within sacred architecture, hinting at a hidden, deliberate purpose. Throughout history, temples and sacred sites have been built with profound geometric precision, intended to channel divine energies and connect humanity to higher realms. Yet beneath the surface of apparent sanctity, the black cube emerges in structures that seem designed for worship, hinting at a far more complex and perhaps darker purpose. Why would such a symbol of limitation be embedded in places meant for spiritual elevation? We see this cubic form in the layout of ancient temples, in the placement of altars, and in the very dimensions of sacred spaces. It's not merely incidental geometry, it's a deliberate imposition of a specific energetic signature onto a place intended to be a conduit for higher consciousness. The presence of the cube suggests that these sites are not just about ascent, but also about how we are grounded, or perhaps how we are held. This isn't about claiming all ancient architecture is inherently negative, but about recognizing a recurring pattern that serves a specific function. The cube acts as an anchor, a focal point that can serve to channel energy, but also to contain it. In sacred spaces, this containment can be used to focus worship, but it can also inadvertently or intentionally limit the scope of that worship, shaping the experience of the divine into something more manageable, more defined. The intention behind embedding this symbol into sacred architecture is crucial. Is it to honor the divine or to tether it? Is it to facilitate connection or to control the flow of that connection? The very act of building with this form in sacred places implies a conscious application of its properties, suggesting that the designers understood its power to define and limit. The cube's presence profoundly alters the energetic function of these traditionally revered spaces. We've seen the black cube's hidden purpose within sacred architecture, acting as more than just a design element, but a potent energetic anchor. This idea of a potent, non-natural object holding deep significance is powerfully echoed in one of the most revered sites in the world. In the next section, we'll focus on the black stone of the Kaaba, questioning its role as more than just a relic. At the heart of Islam, within the Kaaba in Mecca, lies a profound object of veneration, the black stone. Pilgrims from around the globe circumambulate this cube, touching and kissing it in a ritual of devotion that spans centuries. But what if this reliquary, this object of immense spiritual weight, is also a physical embodiment of the very forces of limitation we've been discussing? What secrets does this dark, ancient stone hold beyond its religious significance? The Kaaba itself is a cube, an undeniable focal point for a global religion. While its spiritual meaning is deeply rooted in divine connection and submission, the form itself is a powerful symbol. The black stone, embedded in its corner, pulses with a palpable energy that draws millions. Its dark, seemingly unadorned surface belies a history and an energetic signature that warrants deeper examination, especially given its form and location. This isn't an attempt to devalue faith or spiritual practice, but to understand the underlying energetic architecture that might be at play. The stone, by its very nature and its position, acts as an anchor. In an object and a ritual designed for ultimate ascent and connection to the divine, the cubic form and the dark stone suggest an interplay, a potential tension between aspiration and grounding, or perhaps containment. The object's unique origin, its meteoric source, adds another layer of mystery to its potent symbolism. Stones from the heavens have always held special significance, but this one, shaped as a cube and revered with such intensity, suggests a deliberate convergence of cosmic and terrestrial energies, channeled through a distinctly limiting form. It's a focal point that demands our attention, not just for its ritualistic importance, but for its geometric and energetic implications. We've delved into the profound spiritual weight of the black stone of the Kaaba, recognizing its cubic form as a powerful anchor. But this theme of the cube as a focal point for significant spiritual or societal structures continues, extending into organizations that have shaped history. In the next section, we will turn our attention to the cube's role within Masonic lodges and other secretive societies. The influence of the black cube extends far beyond ancient sacred sites or religious focal points. It is a persistent symbol within organizations that often operate in the shadows, shaping societal structures and esoteric knowledge. Freemasonry, with its rich symbolism and layered teachings, prominently features cubic elements, suggesting a deliberate adoption of its restrictive and grounding energies for specific purposes within their rituals and hierarchical structures. Within Masonic lodges, the tracing boards, altars, and even the symbolic representation of certain philosophical concepts often incorporate the cube. These are not mere decorative elements. They are deeply imbued with meaning, designed to guide initiates through a process of symbolic death and rebirth, a journey that can be interpreted as a controlled dismantling and rebuilding of consciousness. The cube, in this context, often represents the material world, the earthly plane, or a state of limited understanding that the initiate must transcend. The very act of entering a lodge, of passing through degrees, can be seen as navigating a series of contained spaces, each representing a step in understanding. The cube symbolizes the contained nature of this knowledge, the structured progression required to access deeper truths. It's a metaphor for the limitations that must be understood and overcome, but also for the controlled environment designed to facilitate that process, ensuring it aligns with the society's own teachings and objectives. These societies, by their very nature, are focused on degrees of initiation and the sharing of esoteric wisdom in a hierarchical manner. The cubic form, with its distinct faces and defined boundaries, is a perfect representation of such a structured system. It speaks to order, to definition, but also to confinement within a specific framework of knowledge and power. The cube acts as a powerful symbol of this controlled environment and the lessons learned within it. Having examined the black cube's role in Masonic lodges and secret societies, we see its persistent use as a tool for structuring knowledge and experience. This deliberate shaping of perception is further amplified by the cube's inherent geometry. In the next section, we'll delve into the illusion of the six faces, revealing how this simple characteristic can act as a profound trap for our perception. The black cube, with its six distinct faces, presents a seemingly complete and finite form. We perceive it as solid, as having six sides, and our minds readily accept this definition. But what if this very completeness, this apparent finality, is the core of its deceptive power? What if the illusion of these six faces is meticulously designed to limit our understanding and trap our consciousness within a predefined reality? Our perception is heavily influenced by the shapes and forms we encounter. The cube, with its sharp angles and clear boundaries, establishes a definitive space. We tend to accept what we see at face value, assuming that the visible surface represents the entirety of the object. This is precisely how the cubic structure operates as a spiritual trap. It presents a complete, logical form that discourages us from questioning what might lie beyond or within its apparent confines. Think about how we define reality. We often rely on what we can see, touch, and quantify. The six faces of the cube offer exactly that: tangible, measurable surfaces. This makes it an ideal symbol for a system that wants to limit our exploration to the concrete, the material, the immediately perceptible. It encourages us to accept the surface as the whole truth, subtly discouraging inquiry into deeper, less tangible dimensions of existence. The illusion lies in the perfection of the presented form. We see six sides and naturally assume that's all there is. But the profound limitation of the cube as a spiritual anchor is that it encourages us to stop looking, to stop questioning, once we've acknowledged its form. It's a closed system, a box that tells us it's the only box there is, and that within its boundaries, everything is contained and understood. This perception of completeness is a key to its power of entrapment. We've begun to unravel the illusion of the six faces of the black cube, understanding how this perceived completeness traps our perception. But the cube doesn't exist in isolation. Its structure is deeply intertwined with other foundational geometric forms. In the next section, we will explore the hexagon's role and how it serves as the cube's hidden foundation. While the cube is often presented as a singular, fundamental shape, its deeper structure and energetic resonance are inextricably linked to the hexagon. The hexagon, a six-sided polygon, is a remarkably stable and energetically efficient form found throughout nature, from honeycombs to snowflakes. When we understand its relationship to the cube, we begin to see the cube not just as a standalone symbol, but as a manifestation built upon a more fundamental energetic pattern. The hexagon is often seen as a symbol of divine harmony, balance, and connection. It's where three dimensions can efficiently meet and interact without conflict. When you stack hexagons or organize them in a grid, you create a powerful matrix, a foundational structure that can then be used to build more complex forms, including the cube. The cube, in essence, can be seen as a three-dimensional extrusion of the hexagon. This connection is not merely aesthetic, it's energetic. The hexagon represents a more fundamental resonance, a vibration that is inherently balanced and expansive, yet also capable of forming interconnected networks. When this harmonic hexagonal energy is channeled and structured, it can be used to create the more rigid, contained form of the cube. The cube then becomes a way of imposing order and limitation upon this more fluid, natural pattern. The cube's 6 faces can be seen as the points where hexagonal planes intersect or are defined. This relationship means that the cube is not a truly unique or primal form in itself, but rather a derivative, a way of creating boundaries by imposing structure onto a more fundamental, harmonious geometry. The hexagon's inherent stability and interconnectedness are thus subverted or redefined by the cube's more rigid, isolating nature. Having revealed the hexagon's crucial role as the cube's foundation, we now understand that the rigid form hides a more fluid, interconnected origin. This intricate geometric binding, however, serves a profound purpose beyond mere structure. In the next section, we will explore the cube's most significant function, binding the soul and acting as a spiritual cage. The ultimate purpose of the black cube, when viewed through the lens of occult and esoteric traditions, extends beyond mere physical or perceptual limitation. It functions as a spiritual cage, a sophisticated mechanism designed to bind the soul and prevent its natural ascent towards higher consciousness or true freedom. This is where the geometric architecture of limitation finds its most profound and perhaps terrifying application. Think of the soul as something fluid, energetic, and boundless. The black cube, as a symbol of containment, acts as a spiritual prison crafted from geometric principles. Its 6 faces represent an impenetrable boundary, a closed system designed to keep the essence of our being contained within a specific energetic frequency or a loop of experience. This binding is not necessarily forceful in a physical sense, but rather a subtle energetic tethering. This cage manipulates our perception of reality, making the confines of the cube appear to be the entirety of existence. It anchors the soul to a specific vibration, a set of experiences, and a limited understanding of self. The cube's rigidity, its inherent fixed nature, mirrors the intended effect on the soul to make it fixed, unmoving, and ultimately trapped within a cycle or a predefined state. The implication is that our very essence, our spirit, is being held in place, its full potential unrealized because it is locked within this geometric construct. The cube acts as an energetic lock, and the soul becomes the key that is held captive, unable to turn or escape. This containment prevents true spiritual evolution, keeping consciousness tethered to a lower, more controlled plane of existence. We've now understood the black cube's terrifying function as a spiritual cage, binding the soul with its energetic architecture. This imprisonment, however, is not a singular event, but a cyclical process. In the next section, we'll examine how this cubic framework is intimately connected to the cycles of reincarnation and the perpetuation of soul traps. The concept of reincarnation, the soul's journey through multiple lifetimes, is a cornerstone of many spiritual belief systems. However, the black cube's influence suggests that these cycles might not be inherently for spiritual evolution, but rather for perpetuation within a controlled framework. The cubic structure intervenes in the soul's natural progression, transforming rebirth into a continuation of entrapment. If the cube is a spiritual cage, then reincarnation, when influenced by its energetic pattern, becomes the mechanism by which the soul is returned to its prison. Each lifetime is a programmed loop, a set of predefined experiences and lessons that ultimately serve to reinforce the boundaries of the cubic containment. The soul is released, only to be rebound upon its return, its awareness of true freedom systematically erased with each transition. This cyclical imprisonment means that the soul is perpetually returning to a state of limitation, experiencing variations of the same fundamental constraints. The cubic framework dictates the rules of the game, the parameters of each life, ensuring that the soul never truly breaks free from the energetic confines of the prison. It's a sophisticated system of control that uses the natural process of rebirth to maintain its grip. The soul's journey through the cubic framework of reincarnation is designed to exhaust its potential within the confines of the system, rather than allowing it to explore its true, unbound nature. Each life becomes another turn of the wheel, another iteration within the six-sided prison, reinforcing the illusion that this is the only reality possible. The very mechanism of rebirth is thus co-opted to serve the purpose of eternal limitation. Having seen how reincarnation cycles are shaped by the cubic framework, we understand this is not just about individual souls, but about a grander design. This structured limitation echoes the concept of a flawed creator, a being who set these rules in place. In the next section, we will explore the Gnostic demiurge and their role as the ultimate architect of this limitation. The Gnostic worldview presents a fascinating concept. The demiurge, often described as a lesser, flawed creator god, who mistakenly or malevolently fashioned the material world. This demiurgic entity is responsible for the imperfections, the suffering, and the limitations we experience in physical existence. When we align this concept with the presence of the black cube, we find a powerful synergy, revealing the demiurge as the prime architect of our cubic prison. The demiurge in Gnostic thought is not the benevolent, all-perfect god of other traditions, but a being driven by ignorance or a desire for control. This entity created the physical universe, a realm of matter and illusion, separating humanity from the true spiritual realm. The black cube perfectly embodies this material, restrictive creation. It is the geometric signature of this demiurgic flawed design. This flawed architect's intention was not liberation, but dominion. The material world, with all its rules, boundaries, and illusions, is precisely what the demiurge constructed to keep souls trapped and ignorant of their divine origins. The black cube, as the ultimate symbol of containment, becomes the primary tool or design element of this flawed creation, ensuring that consciousness remains tethered to the material plane. The concept of the demiurge provides a conscious entity behind the seemingly abstract geometry of limitation. It suggests an intelligent design, albeit one rooted in imperfection or intention to control. This architect actively constructed a reality where the cube is a fundamental component, a constant reminder and perpetuator of the soul's confinement within the material illusion. We have now connected the black cube's influence to the Gnostic demiurge, recognizing this entity as the architect of our limitation. This ancient concept of a flawed creator reflects in our modern world. In the next section, we will examine how these cubic manifestations persist in contemporary technology and media, continuing their ancient work in new forms. The pervasive influence of the black cube is not relegated to ancient history or esoteric texts. It has seamlessly integrated itself into the very fabric of our modern lives, manifesting in the technology we use daily and the media we consume. From the screens we stare at to the devices we hold, the cube's geometry subtly continues its work of defining, containing, and influencing our perception and consciousness. Consider the ubiquitous nature of screens, televisions, computer monitors, smartphones, tablets. These are all essentially flat, six-sided surfaces when viewed as devices, contained within rectangular and thus cubic casings. They present windows into worlds, but they are also literal boxes, devices that deliver information and entertainment in a structured, often compartmentalized way, reinforcing the cubic paradigm of limited perception. Even abstract concepts in digital spaces often default to cubic or box-like representations. Think of files in folders, icons on a desktop, or the very architecture of websites and software interfaces. These are all digital manifestations of the cube, creating a sense of order and containment within the digital realm, subtly mirroring and reinforcing the physical cubic structures and their associated limitations in our minds. The media we consume often presents narratives that are confined, predictable, and reinforce societal norms. All characteristics that align with the cubes function as a limitation. The very way stories are told, the typical plot structures, the archetypes presented, can often feel boxed in, offering a controlled experience of reality that mirrors the energetic signature of the cube. It's a constant, subtle bombardment of cubic principles shaping our awareness. We've seen how the black cube continues its work in modern technology and media, subtly shaping our perception. This realization brings us to a crucial point. Recognizing these manifestations is the first step towards dismantling their influence. In the next section, we will focus on breaking the seal of this illusion and learning to recognize the cubic lock in our perceived reality. The realization that the black cube is a pervasive symbol of limitation and containment can be overwhelming. We've seen its presence in ancient structures, in esoteric traditions, and now in the devices we hold in our hands. But this awareness is not meant to induce despair. It is the crucial first step towards liberation. Recognizing the lock, understanding how it functions, is the key to beginning to break its seal. The first stage of breaking the seal is simply acknowledging the pattern. It's about shifting your perception to see the cubic geometry not as neutral form, but as an energetic anchor for restriction. This means questioning the default settings of your reality, your assumptions about how things work, and the boundaries that feel inherent and unquestionable. Every time you notice a cube, a box, a defined container of information or space, pause and consider its energetic implication. It involves scrutinizing the information you consume, the media you engage with, and even the physical spaces you inhabit. Are these reinforcing a sense of confinement, or are they offering true expansion? Are the boundaries presented as absolute, or are they recognized as constructions that can be understood and potentially transcended? This active observation is the act of identifying the lock itself. Recognizing the cubic lock is an ongoing process, a continuous act of looking beyond the surface. It's about developing an inner awareness that can detect the energetic signature of limitation, regardless of its form. This conscious observation weakens the cube's hold, as its power relies on our unconscious participation and acceptance of its apparent reality. The more you see it, the less power it has to define you. Having learned to recognize the cubic lock and break its seal, the next vital step is to understand how to actively disengage from its influence. This acknowledgement is merely the precursor to true freedom. In the next section, we will explore the active process of reclaiming your consciousness from the pervasive grip of the cube. Once we've recognized the black cube's pervasive presence and begun to break its seal, the next crucial step is to actively reclaim our consciousness from its subtle but powerful grip. This isn't about denying the existence of the cube, but about denying its authority over our inner reality. It's a conscious disentanglement from the energetic architecture of limitation that has shaped our perceptions for so long. Reclaiming your consciousness means first asserting your own sovereign authority over your thoughts, emotions, and spiritual path. It is an active decision to no longer be bound by external definitions or imposed limitations. This involves questioning the narratives that have been presented to you, the boundaries that have been subtly erected around your potential, and the ideas that have been ingrained as absolute truths. You begin to build your own internal compass. This process of reclamation is an act of spiritual strength and discernment. It requires you to differentiate between essential truths and constructed limitations. It's about choosing to engage with energies that promote expansion, awareness, and spiritual growth, while consciously disengaging from those that foster confinement and stagnation. You are learning to navigate by your own inner light, independent of the external cubic framework. By actively choosing where to direct your attention, your energy, and your intentions, you begin to override the subtle programming of the cube. You start to expand your perception beyond its 6 faces to explore the boundless nature of your own consciousness. This isn't a passive waiting for liberation, but an active, ongoing practice of reclaiming your inherent freedom and sovereignty day by day, thought by thought. Having focused on reclaiming your consciousness from the cube's pervasive grip, we have taken significant steps toward liberation. But understanding the unlocking process is the ultimate goal. In the next section, we will move beyond the 6-sided prison and explore what lies on the other side of this profound spiritual cage. We've journeyed through the architecture of limitation, the containment fields of the Black Cube, its Saturnian origins, its echoes in spiritual traditions, its presence in sacred and secret sites, its perceptual tricks, its hexagonal foundation, its role in binding the soul, its connection to reincarnation, its Gnostic roots, and its modern manifestations. We've learned to recognize its lock and begun the process of reclaiming our consciousness. Now, we stand at the threshold of the unlocking, the moment of moving beyond the 6-sided prison. The unlocking is not a single event, but a continuous unfolding, a liberation from the perceived confines of the cube. It is the realization that the boundaries, while powerfully constructed, are not absolute. They are energetic and perceptual constructs that can be dissolved from within. This involves a fundamental shift in understanding your own nature, recognizing that you are not a contained entity, but a boundless spark of consciousness. Moving beyond the 6-sided prison means expanding your awareness to perceive the interconnectedness of all things, rather than focusing on the separating boundaries of the cube. It's about embracing the infinite, the multidimensional, and the true essence of your being, which has always existed beyond the cubic form. This is where the spiritual journey transcends the limitations and embraces its true, expansive potential. The experience of the beyond is not a physical place, but a state of consciousness, a profound recognition of freedom from imposed structures. It is the ultimate act of spiritual sovereignty, where the soul is no longer a prisoner of geometry, but recognizes itself as an infinite expression of the divine. This is the true victory over the architect of limitation. Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.